This is it. This is finally it. The Season 4 finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a season that has been filled with an awful lot of big, eventful moments that I think everybody agrees on made up what could be arguably the best season of the show so far. And to kind of commemorate that, not only do we have the Season 4 finale, but we also got the renewal for Season 5. So, big things ahead, but let's go ahead and talk about the closing episode to the 4th season entitled World's End. And honestly, it was a really, really good episode, but I hate to be that guy. I hate to be what could possibly be the minority here. But to me, it felt like a great episode, but just a good and almost kind of okay finale. At least for a 4th season. Because we've gotten far ahead into the show. I feel like maybe we could have taken some much more monumental steps. And in the end, it felt somewhat underwhelming with certain elements that they played here in the Season 4 finale. And this leads me to my next critical point. Something that I think ABC should really consider for its 5th season is to give the show the credit that it deserves and give them a 90-minute episodes, whether it be at least the Season 5 premiere or the Season 5 finale or the mid-season premiere, mid-season finale, whatever the hell. Give them the luxury, the leeway to be able to do 90-minute episodes, because I feel like if this Season 4 finale would have been a 90-minute stretch, I think more things could have taken their time to build up into this much more impactful, much more monumental event type thing, because so many elements in this episode felt just a little underwhelming to me. Here we take the fight to Aida. Our heroes take the fight to Aida and they vanquish her. And I feel like in an episode where she was ultimately hateable, like I really hated her in this episode, how smug she was, how she wanted to make them suffer, whatever. And I know we've had villains not only within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but within this show be that kind of character that wants to like rub things in and wants to make the character suffer. But there was something about her that she played it so well that I just hated her so much. I wanted to watch her die, like in a Game of Thrones type of way. And I know that sounds humongously morbid, but I really wanted to see that kind of play out. And I know that this is a show that is rooted within the Marvel Universe. It's not as dark as the Netflix shows. They don't go in that direction 100%, but they've dabbled here and there, especially with Season 4 because of the new time slot, the much more mature content, especially with bringing back Ghost Rider, who makes a really cool return here in the Season 4 finale. The effects are still on par. He still has some badass moves. And every time he does something that's kind of related to Doctor Strange, especially by the end where he makes up that portal and you see the sparks, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And I love the little trick that they played with Ghost Rider here, and I really do mean specifically Ghost Rider, not Robbie Reyes. His switch over to Coulson is really intriguing. It's one of the things that I took away from this episode that I'm really interested about, is that what exactly was that deal that Coulson made with the devil, so to speak, that allowed him to kill Aida. Really interested to see that, and hopefully they don't fumble the ball with that. But what I think they did fumble the ball though is Aida, because I think her death and the entire plan to kind of, I don't know, things just paced a little too quickly. And I know that the show is known for having a faster pace, much more so than its first season or even its second season, and we generally love that about them, especially with this 3-pod structure that they led up with here in Season 4. But there was something about the finale that left me wondering about how certain things kind of came about. When exactly, and I know that this is the wrong show to do it, but I can't help but feel slightly bothered by how quickly they came up with certain things. How in the hell did they have the amount of time to create an entire Simmons LMD? And I know you can jump really quickly to say, oh, it was the Darkhold. They read it, but they said that they weren't going to read it. They were just going to use it as bait. So many things here and there I was left pondering, and I shouldn't feel that way. I feel like, again, if we had given the episode more time to breathe, certain things could have been either much more explained or at least would have had some stronger emotion to kind of last within the frame. And I know that's the filmmaker in me starting to speak, but I would have preferred that more, instead of having certain characters within the halfway mark of the episode flat out tell us what exactly is going on, what's the big plan. Like, there was an entire scene, if you guys noticed, before we actually executed the plan, we were on the Zephyr with Robbie, Daisy, and all of them after the big things that happened with Talbot, who again is another moment that I thought was a little underwhelming, is that I legit thought that they were going to kill off Talbot, and I thought that was a big move on their part. I'm like, holy shit, here we go, Season 4 bringing that edge back, and then it turns out that he's still alive. And I understand that in real life, people can survive wounds like that, but it's very rare. It's very fucking rare. So for them to kind of write that into Talbot's storyline there, or Talbot's fate, so to speak, being put into a coma rather than to just kill him off, I was like, okay, they're not going to do away with Talbot. But it looks like they're gearing up for a potential death between either Yo-Yo or Mac, the two characters that I said in last week's episode review could be the more expendable characters to kind of kill off to give the episode that bite, that edge. And that doesn't even happen. They both come back to the real world somewhat unscathed physically. I know that they have some of their emotional trouble, and I like that they still kind of brought that up with Fitz and Simmons with that scene where he's trying to take all the guilt, but then we lead to a moment that I gotta be honest felt just a little cheesy, where they're like, we're in this all together, and I'm expecting the studio audience to start clapping and cheer for them. I'm sorry, I know that sounds cynical, but it felt like that to me. And I know I have a personal bias against kids, but my god, they tried to make that kid act in a rather emotional moment that I will give testament over to Henry Simmons' acting, who plays Mac. He was really top notch in that scene. I was feeling for him 100%. But I gave no shits whatsoever when that little girl disappeared, because I'm sorry, I know she's a little kid, but they could have gotten a better kid actress, because you got Henry Simmons giving a very 100% performance here, and then you cut back to the little girl who's kind of like smiling and looking up to the camera, and it just breaks the scene for me. And another thing that they kind of like move past forward that I'm still having questions about is Ivanov. How many of these LMDs are there exactly? They kind of still have their base, right? I mean, I know Ghost Rider showed up there and destroyed those, but shouldn't there be more? Are we gonna answer that in the next season? Who knows? All we're left with, however, is an very intriguing and very exciting cliffhanger that I think is going to breathe some new life into the show, even though it wasn't necessarily running out of steam. I'm just saying that it's a new aesthetic that I'm looking forward to, because it's something that's going to be rather radically different for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We got these MIB type of characters who I wouldn't even be surprised if they kind of tie this into the Men in Black, because if I'm not mistaken, Men in Black is technically a Marvel property. However, I don't know if Columbia Pictures or / Sony still have the rights to them, so it might not be, but maybe there's like a reference to them, because they look very MIB-ish to me. At least that one guy who pulled out the little time suspension machinery type thing that he pulled out kind of looks like the thing that you open up and make somebody forget their memories, or at least their short-term memory. So I'm like, maybe, I don't know. That's just my stupid ass theory that I'm kind of throwing out there. What's more interesting though is Coulson waking up rather casually. It's not like it looks like this is probably a time jump into the future, with him and maybe the rest of the crew already being accustomed to this new style of him opening up the window. They're up in space, some kind of station. What? Who knows? All we can do is speculate and theorize here, but it's definitely something I'm looking forward to in Season 5. Anyways, not much more that I can say about the episode, and I know that it mostly sounds negative, but it still had that feel-good feel to the show that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is known for. Still has the chemistry, still has the back and forth that you really like, these characters blending together to take on the mission, to thwart the bad guys. It was still a good episode that had me going along for the ride. It's just that my expectations have been risen to a brand new standard with some of the more recent episodes, especially the one where they jump back from the framework over to the real world, which again was another intriguing part of this episode that I will give credit to, is the framework kind of disappearing, because this entire time I was thinking, like, are they just gonna leave that alone and not pay any kind of attention to it? It's just gonna linger there? No, it disappears one after another, and it was a really tense thing to have Mac to come to terms with, because it's all disappearing, including his daughter. So I thought that was really cool. Again, some of the other elements that I really appreciated on a much more aesthetic level, like Ghost Rider doing his thing, some of the cool kills. There was that one practical effect of Ghost Rider drilling into the LMD's eye and then pulling out the eye. I thought that was really awesome. But when it comes to the way that the episode was kind of structured together, I think it could have been handled way better if it was either split amongst two episodes, like this was last week's episode, stretched out a little bit further so that we can have some room to breathe, or ABC start to give the show 90-minute episodes, as opposed to other networks giving shows like The Walking Dead 90-minute episodes where shit doesn't happen, and all the way until the very end, and we have to go all along with it. Whereas here, I think they can really use the time effectively and give us some really great episodes. So I'm going to be giving World's End, the Season 4 finale, a low 8 out of 10. Not necessarily one of the best finales that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had, but definitely one that still managed to propel things forward and kind of close things out for this 4th season, kind kind of bringing everything 100% full circle, from the Ghost Rider story arc to the LMD to the framework, all of it coming together, especially in a very poetic way, the way that Radcliffe kind of goes out. It's kind of like how the season 4 kind of gets wrapped up, where it looks like this is how the world ends, not with a bang, but with, and it just cuts out. I was like, oh, you did my boy wrong there. But it was a cool artistic choice that makes me hope that S.H.I.E.L.D. gets some more traction, some better stories coming with its 5th season, especially with a really cool cliffhanger like that. So please let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the season 4 finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Did it meet all of your expectations? Do you think that they tied up everything really well? Or do you think that, like me, thought that maybe it was rushed in some parts, or certain things just didn't get met as opposed to how other episodes handled their material? Please let me know all of you guys' feedback, and what are your theories and speculations as to how we're going to end up with our crew of our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. Make sure to support this video by giving it a thumbs up and a share, and of course, subscribe to the channel to keep in touch for all things Marvel and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., especially Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I feel like so many people do in fact have a, you know, like a devotion to this show, myself included, and I'm hoping that all of us can kind of conjugate together here, because I don't feel like so many YouTubers review Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm hoping to continue this going all the way throughout season 5 later this year, and I'm looking forward to it. So please show your support by hitting the subscribe button, and make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at DarkSpiderDavid. Until next time, guys, take care. I will see you in September with season 5. Until then, rest in peace, Powers Booth.